Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Shoot Style Sauna. As once again, we are back for some New Japan Cup bracketology. Not too long after the last one, considering that one was in the summer last year. New Japan announced the brackets about Monday morning, Sunday night for us over here on the East Coast. And we are here to break down the brackets before it kicks off this Thursday at the anniversary show. So coming up really fast. Eric, how are you feeling about this?
I'm very much excited.
Mhm.
The biggest single elimination tournament in all of pro wrestling, and it's for the new IWGP, or a chance to compete for the new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and facing the current champion Kota Ibushi.
As of now, for those who don't know, if you are unaware of the news, about the same time they announced the brackets, New Japan did announce that they are fulfilling Kota Ibushi's wish to merge the IWGP Heavyweight title and the Intercontinental Championship. Those titles are no more, and it's especially weird for the Heavyweight title being so well identified with the promotion for so long, and now it's going to be gone. It's going to be very jarring at first, but I think it's going to have like a new legacy, basically, because it's still going to be called the heavyweight, like a heavyweight title. It's the World Heavyweight Championship now, but that'll be more revealed, I guess. I think they're going to reveal the title at Sakura Genesis, is my guess.
Yeah.
That's what I imagine they will do. And then, but in the meantime, they will do this tournament around the anniversary show, and we will go from there. So there are 30 competitors in this, and Eric, if he wants to flash up his bracket, I think we're going to go. Eric will do his bracket first on his share screen, and I'll switch over and do my own bracket on his, as we don't usually count this for predictions as like the championship, but we do it for fun mostly. We do count the points, but we'll see what we want to do about like anything else related to it. But this is the full and proper bracket from New Japan social media. Bit of a rundown. If you want to run down the participants, Eric, you want to do one side and I'll do the other?
Yeah, so I'll take the left side. So up top, on the top left, we see Evil, who actually gets a first round bye in this tournament. And then we move on to Satoshi Kojima versus Jeff Cobb, who have been feuding since the new beginning. And then we have Tetsuya Naito taking on the Great Okan, and that match will actually, so those first two matches will actually be taking place on the anniversary show. And then we're moving on to current KOPW 2021 provisional champion Toriano taking on the underboss Bad Luck Fale.
And a rematch from the end of the year for the KOPW title, I think, too. They were a bit tied up, so interesting to see how that will go. But moving on.
And then we have current never open weight 6-man champion Hiroki Goto taking on Taichi. And then we have the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada taking on the Dragon Shingo Takagi.
One of the biggest matches in this whole bracket, if you ask. That's going to shape the entire bracket.
Big match. Very, very excited for this match. And then we have Tomoyaki Hama taking on the King Minoru Suzuki. And then we have Juice Robinson taking on Kenta, who is just coming off his loss to John Moxley.
Yeah, a bit of a surprising one, too. It's also a USA match. I think these two did fight over on Strong Style Evolved. Is that right? Or they at least cross paths, I think. Or is it the G1? Or the G1? I might be misremembering something. It was something around that time, I think. But, a lot of familiar matchups here. A really, really strong side of the bracket, too. Moving over to the side I'll be talking, we'll go from top to bottom here. On the very top, Hiroshi Tenzan taking on Will Osprey, the Kingpin. These two have been feuding much like Kojima and Cobb are since around New Beginning, and actually just coming off a win against the Empire back during Castle Tax. This feud maybe might be wrapping up here. Who knows? There's probably a little bit more to it. Got a young lion, Gabriel Kidd, taking on Zack Sabre Jr. of Dangerous Tekkers. Nice to see Zack Sabre Jr. kind of getting back into singles competition alongside his tag partner. And someone we all slept on last year, he destroyed all of our brackets. It's Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata, taking on the young lion, Yota Tsuji. I wonder how far he'll get this year. After that, we got another kind of a big one, but not as big as Okada and Shingo, if you ask me. It is the Stone Pit Bowl. Tomohiro Ishii taking on the Cold Skull Sonata, which would be a very exciting round one match. And then we could shape this side of the bracket too. Moving on, we got more U.S. action. We got David Finley taking on the Crown Jewel. Chase Owens coming up short after his KOPW match with Toriano. Cheeky Yano, what's he like? Moving on, we have the Headhunter. I believe he's also is he? Yeah, he's still never open weight 6-man champions. We got Yoshiashi taking on the Pimp. Tokyo Pimp, Yujiro Takahashi of Bullet Club. And at the bottom, we got Toa Hanare taking on Switchblade, Jay White. And the winner of that match will face the never openweight champion who has a bye. Very intriguingly, it is the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Interesting to see that the never champion gets a bye, but Tanahashi has been saying he wants to elevate that title to be more than just a secondary title. So intrigued to see how far that goes. But we won't be using this bracket to do our own bracketology. We have our own separate kind of bracket generators, as Eric is going to pull his up first, and we will have a bit of fun talking about what he would think will happen, and let's see what he has to say.
All right, so we're starting with mine. So we'll start with top left and go down. Oh, sorry.
Work your way across. So we'll do all the round ones, then finish fill in from there.
Yes. Okay. So let's start with Satoshi Kojima versus Jeff Cobb.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one's kind of easy. I'm gonna go with Jeff Cobb.
Yep. I feel like a lot of these round ones are either easy or it's kind of like it's either really easy or really hard on some of these ones. But Cobb,
yeah. It's kind of like this next one. Tetsuya Naito taking on the Dominator Great-O-Khan. This one is kind of tough.
It's a mismatch too. It's kind of like you have kind of the more controlled veteran presence of Naito, has the charisma and everything, taking on the more strong big man in Okan as we saw against Tanahashi. It's gonna be interesting to see how these two mesh. I don't think these two have ever crossed paths, even when he was a young lion. But Eric, what do you think?
This one, I think this one's really tough because how Great-O-Khan has taken a bunch of big losses lately. I've kind of sworn off. Never stop betting on the Great-O-Khan because he's gonna lose in big time matches. Like he lost to Tanahashi twice, especially in the never openweight championship match at Castle Attack Night 2. It's just like how many more big losses is he gonna need? He's gonna need that win coming up soon. But it's Tetsuya Naito. He does still have that knee injury that he sustained on the road to Castle Attack. He did just lose to Kota Ibushi at Castle Attack Night 2. But I am gonna go with Tetsuya Naito.
I think this is the safer one, but this could be a surprise. Like you never know with this one.
Also, so this tournament is to challenge for the brand new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and if you want to elevate that title, you got to have your top stars going after it. And I think so. We have Naito, we have Okada, we have Jay White and Tanahashi in this match. Those are kind of like the big 4 and 5, including Kota Ibushi, and I think those are going to be the guys you need to try to elevate this title up.
Absolutely. So let's see. Up next, you got a bit of you got another interesting one here. As I said, this is a KOPW run back into last year. Eric, who's going to go forward between Chaos and Bullet Club?
So Toriano, Bad Luck Fale. I got to go with Toriano.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. I think we've all learned a lesson at this point to never bet against Yano in KOPW situations. We've all made that mistake, I think, every time until recently. So I think it's like if you're questioning it, he always finds a way no matter what it is. Whether he pinned Tanahashi when they were both blindfolded or I think duct taping Zack Sabre Jr. to a barricade. I think we all knew he was going to win that, to be fair. But hey, you can never go wrong with a good, safe Toriano pick.
There is going to be some trickery in this match. Either Toriano is going to do something or Bad Luck Fale is going to get himself disqualified. I don't know. We'll see.
It's gonna be a comedy match, but Yano always makes it work somehow. All right, moving on. Let's go to a Chaos versus Suzuki-Gun match. Goto and Taichi, what are you thinking?
So we haven't seen any Suzuki-Gun members until very recently, actually. But I am gonna go with Taichi in this match.
Bit of a surprise one because Taichi's been a tag guy. Oh, and then Goto's also been a tag guy for a while. He's a 6-man champion, and Taichi just came off a tag title reign, to be fair. So, like I said, it's interesting to see him coming back in the singles way. But any reason why you think that?
Goto, he is the 6-man title, and he is getting up there. He's starting to become one of those New Japan dads. He still has a couple years left. But I think the way Taichi's been going and running through everybody in singles, remember back in the G1 where we thought he wasn't going to do well, but he did very well.
Yeah, but he upset a lot of people, and he had that insane match with Ibushi where they kicked each other for the whole match. I just looked up, Goto was 41, which is, I think that's impressive considering how he could still really go, in my opinion, though.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. But I do think Taichi is going to get the win in this match.
Okay. Pretty good way to start it for Taichi. Next one. This is the hardest one, I think, in the round 1 matches, at least. What do you got, Eric?
So this is going to be probably match of the opening rounds, at least. But this is going to be a damn good match.
They had a fantastic match in the G1, having watched that.
Yeah. We have Kazuzu Okada and Shingo Takagi, who Kevin Kelly is saying Shingo is Kevin Kelly's favorite in this tournament.
In my heart, I want Shingo to win this whole thing, but it's just tough when your round 1 opponent is Okada, and he wants the World Heavyweight title. So, Eric, this is your bracket. What do you got?
So before I give my answer, I'm going to say this again. There's a brand new title. They're trying to elevate it the best they can. Who better than to elevate it than Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, multiple time, IWGP Heavyweight Champion, but this is basically a clean slate. So he has never won this title.
Yeah, his lineage is going to be with the heavyweight title forever. Not this one yet.
Absolutely, but I think he's going to try to make his mark on this championship because it's finally something new for him to do.
Yep, because I think we talked about this back at Wrestle Kingdom predictions. Like we didn't know what else there was for Okada because we know he didn't want the Rev Pro title, and thankfully it wasn't for the title either. So he's kind of just been kind of doing mid card stuff or upper mid card stuff, and now he's got like a whole new agenda he can go for, and this is good. This could be a way to kick it off if he wins the whole thing.
Absolutely.
All right, going over to some New Japan dads, but to be fair, they've both been kicking on for a while. Hanma and Suzuki. Suzuki, hopefully, what do you think is going to happen with Suzuki? Another round 1 exit, or you think he'll get a little further this year?
This one is kind of tough because Tomoaki Hanma has been kind of on the road to Castle Attack. He's feuding with Tetsuya Naito, and like he got a win over him on one of the shows. But I still think Minoru Suzuki is gonna take out Kokeshi. And I'm sorry, Hanma.
Sorry, Hanma Mania fans out there. It's unfortunately maybe not your time this time. All right, next up, bottom of the bracket. Like I said, New Japan US kind of match going on here. Juice Robinson and Kenta. What are we thinking?
I'm gonna go with Kenta.
Yeah,
because I do think coming off a loss to Moxley, he's probably got that chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove, and I think Juice Robinson is gonna kind of stay more focused on the tag division because the tag division is a little bit weak right now in New Japan.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, considering what we just saw at Castle Attack. I'm like, they could probably be a little bit more higher caliber than this. So yeah, I'm curious to see what they'll do.
Yeah, so Kenta definitely in that match.
All right, let's head over to the other side. Well, obviously Tanahashi has a bye, so let's go over to Jay White and Toa Inare. All right, Eric, what do you got?
So how the way this bracket is set up, the buys were always on the top. So this is kind of like the opposite of how Japan has it set up.
The official one, it's at the bottom of it, but like we had to like pretty much. I did the same thing where it's also at the top, like Eric's here. So I kind of like did the opposite direction to make it all work.
So all right, so Jay White versus Toa Inare, pretty obvious. Go with Jay White.
Yeah, it's a big match we'll get to after this too.
Yeah. And now moving on to Yoshiashi versus Yujiro Takahashi. This one's also kind of easy because I'm going with Yoshihashi. He's current never 6-man heavy open weight tag champion. He's the most improved in 2020, and Yujiro barely wins matches anymore. So.
Yeah, let's say he won with the whole G1 without a win till the very end when it mattered. He was 2-0 as we said back then. Finally got some, but he's more of like, I feel he's more of like a manager or kind of like a guy who does like other things. Usually he's the fall guy. He's kind of like the Bushi of the group when it comes to Bullet Club.
Yeah.
All right, next up, more like I said, New Japan US stuff. We got David Finley, Robinson's tag partner, taking on Chase Owens.
Yeah, so this one's another tough one to figure out because do you go with David Finley, who is kind of he's gonna be with Juice Robinson, focusing on the tag division, or you go with Chase Owens, who hasn't been doing that well. He's coming off a loss loss from Toriano for the KOPW 2021 provisional trophy. He is the new Texas heavyweight champion.
Oh, but I actually didn't know that.
We haven't seen any footage we haven't seen any footage for that yet, so we don't know if he actually won it or was given it.
Oh, we don't know. I have to look that up then, or if that's a whole gag maybe he's doing. That he's doing a lot of PUBG. We're talking about Chase Owens.
But just like Juice Robinson, I do think David Finley's going to be more focused on the tag division. So I think the crown jewel, Chase Owens, is going to win this first round match.
Yeah, plus when it comes to Finn Juice, I think they're also doing Impact work right now. I think they're going to be taking on the Good Brothers at some point, if I had to guess, based on what's going on in Impact. But yeah, keep them more in the tag division. They might be going back to fight with GOD eventually too. But moving on, next part of the bracket, another big match. One of the biggest matches on round 1 for this side. It is Stone Pitbull and the Cold Skull. What do you got?
It's going to be a very good match, very hard-hitting match. But I do think Ishii is still going to be hurting from his match with Jay White, who he hurt his ribs in that match. And, Sonata, he wasn't on Castle Attack, so he's all.
We haven't seen him since the title defense, haven't we?
He was on Road to Castle Attack, but he always ended up being in singles matches because, Naito and Hiromu got hurt.
Oh, that's what it was then. So he's kind of just been kind of doing house shows, basically. Haven't seen a lot.
So he's coming in. He's going to be fresh. And I do think Sonata is going to get the win over the Stone Pitbull.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But, Ishii is like the guy who always gives out a good match, usually if anybody he's partnered with. So it should be a really exciting match at least.
All right, then moving on, we got Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata taking on Young Lion, Yota Tsuji.
Tsuji had a bit of a storyline at Castle Attack in the Tanahashi match. So it seems like he might get a little bit more attention soon. But what's happening in your book?
So, yeah, Yota Tsuji has been getting more attention, especially from the Empire guys who kind of want him to join because he's almost at the point where he's graduating the Young Lion program and going to be on his own.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Empire's trying to lure him in and everything. So, but it's Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata. So I got to go with Nagata.
Yeah, but say Tsuji could be a bit of a gambit here, but I feel like it could be a thing that happens post New Japan. Maybe like a Sakura Genesis, something like that. Maybe he hopes to do his own then, or like on the road to Sakura Genesis instead. I can see it happening. Like maybe he turns on Tanahashi or something else happens, and he establishes himself in this big way. But maybe not right now. All right, more Young Lion action coming up next as we got good old Gabriel Kidd and Ziyech. I think this is actually a UK match. I think these both guys are from that area. Yep,
it is.
So, Eric, what do you think?
I mean, pretty simple. Young Lion, Zack Sabre Jr. ZSJ is going to get the win and move on.
He's also a former New Japan Cup winner, is ZSJ, so could make another deep run. And finally, topping off round 1 for Eric, it is Hiroshi Tenzan and Osprey. No love lost between these two, and who's going to take it home?
Pretty simple. Commonwealth Kingpin Will Osprey.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to go pretty deep in this tournament. He's still trying to establish the Empire. He's really only had wins over, the New Japan dads and Kojima, Tenzan. And so I think this is where he establishes his dominance as the Commonwealth Kingpin.
Exactly.
And the Empire.
Always remember, he's also still the Ref Row champion, too. So it's kind of like you got to give that a little bit of attention, I feel like, too. Especially with this next round 2 match you got right there. It's a run back for that title, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Based off this one. So I think Eric's round 2, he'll go back to the very top left if you want to, but you have control, as is your bracket.
So for this one, I think this is a tough match to call. So we got Jeff Cobb coming off his match with Satoshi Kojima and a fresh Evil along with Dick Togo.
Yep.
So this one's very tough to call because Jeff Cobb is looking great. And then Evil has taken a lot of, a few big losses.
Yeah,
recently.
He lost to Sonata, lost to Okada, and kind of just feeling like, he's kind of going down the card again.
Yeah.
So do we think he could be a one and done even after having a bye? Or do you think maybe he'll start to get some steam back before he gets into the next round? What do you think?
I do think Jeff Cobb can take a loss and still look pretty dominant. So I'm going to go with Evil in this match.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. And it's like the thing you said, too. It's like there's this new title. Evil is a former double champion, as a reminder. Remember, he won it last year and won the whole thing after that. So it's like if you want to keep that title, they feel like there's big names going after that. I think having a former champion who's more established in the promotion, keyword there, and Evil moving ahead is probably the smarter choice. But, Cobb is still relatively new to being signed. So you want to put more stock behind him, as they've been clearly doing in all the matches he's had since signing. And it's kind of really be a toss-up for some people.
Absolutely. But I think it's going to be a damn good match.
Yep. All right, next one. Oh, these two met in the G1, and I believe Naito did win, but I think it might just be a simple, really quick one for Naito.
Absolutely, but it's going to be a fun match. It's going to be a comedy match for sure, because Naito, he can be funny when he wants to be, and then Toriano's Toriano. So but
yeah.
Got to go with Tetsuya Naito on this one.
I would be surprised if they had him knock him out here, which I don't know about that. All right, next up, this is actually an old feud too from, I think, started last year. It is Taichi and Kazuchika Okada. These two fought beating Sapporo last year to finish off a mini feud they had. So crossing paths once again.
And both the men are totally different than they were the last time they met, but it's going to be a hell of a good match. But, got to go with good old Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada.
That's it. It's looking a lot more simple now. We're out of the first round. So, yeah, and we're going to have some big ones potentially as well. Okay, moving over to the bottom. Suzuki taking on Kenta in a Suzuki-Gun Bullet Club match. I know I said the wrong word for a second. What do you got?
So this is going to be a good match. It's going to be just like two men. They're just going to, beat the crap out of each other, and like heel versus heel. It's going to be a, nasty match. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go Kenta getting the win over Suzuki.
All right, there you go. Let's say get it big. Both those semi matches for that side looking really big. I mean, one of them is very familiar to a lot of people if they were watching last week. That bottom one, I don't think have you seen that before in New Japan?
Maybe in a no. I'm thinking.
I think they were in separate blocks. Yeah, I think they were in separate blocks.
Both times they're in separate blocks. Yeah.
So never happened if that happens. All right, moving over to the top of the other side. Very, very big match to top off. And these two have history. Jay White beat Tanahashi for his first IWGP Heavyweight title. And will it repeat here, or will the Ace try and get off to a good start? What do you think?
So it's kind of a tough one too. It's gonna be a good match. But I think Tanahashi, he's going to be more focused on the never openweight title and elevating that, because since the Intercontinental Championship is retired, there is that no secondary title. That's like right behind the heavyweight title. But so I think now they're trying to elevate the never openweight title to be that championship.
Yeah, because they can't really do the US title until like a little bit from now, like once it's safe to travel. Because I feel like that title will eventually get there as well, considering, you know, the people who hold it are usually gaijins who can bring over the Western market. Moxley is definitely one person that can do it, but obviously he's not here right now. And probably he will be back, I'd imagine, in a couple months though. But for now, I think it's a safe pick. But keep going.
So for this match, I do think that Jay White is going to get the victory over the Ace.
Yeah, so he has a pretty good record against Tanahashi in recent memory too. So can continue there. All right, next up, a little bit of a more mid-cardy match. You got Yoshiashi and the crown jewel Chase Owens. Chaos versus Bullet Club here.
So kind of continuing the Chaos Bullet Club feud that's been going on the past couple months. We got Yoshiashi and Chase Owens. I do think Yoshiashi is going to get the victory over Chase Owens, because I doubt they're going to, if they go with Jay White over Tanahashi, they're not going to go Chase Owens, Jay White.
Yeah, that's a Bullet Club Civil War I don't think they want to do right now. So
no. And there's really, they're like two different calibers, you know. Chase Owens, no offense, but it's Jay White.
Lower card.
You know?
It's a lower card guy versus like one of your big gaijins, pretty much. All right.
And this is also continuing their feud from
the 6-man titles. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they lost to Chaos in that match, which I thought was big, but it made sense in the meantime, because, you know, it would have been weird seeing Jay just randomly hold like the 6-man belts, to be fair, but it would have been interesting at the same time. All right, bottom of the bracket, big one here. Sonata and Yuji Nagata up first. What do you got?
You got to go with Sonata. I don't think no offense to Blue Justice, New Japan dad, but got to go with the Cold Skull.
Hey man, he can still do it. I think Nagata can still do it, but, you know, I think Sonata is definitely the way safer pick here.
Yeah, they're definitely presenting Sonata as the next level guy. He's Nagata's not at his level, basically.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, back in the day, Nagata definitely would have been, but not right now anymore. Things have changed, obviously. And the very bottom, like I said, this match, very familiar. Rev Pro title match in the past between these two over in London last year, I believe, is when Osprey won it. And they finally meet again all this time later, and Osprey has changed a lot since then, to say the very least. So, Eric, what do you think?
You got to go with the Commonwealth Kingpin, Will Osprey.
He does it again. Yeah, plus also, looking at it again, Sonata's ESJ has happened a lot in the past year. I don't think we've really seen a ton of Osprey Sonata. I think it's happened before. I can't remember when, though. But it would have been a long time ago before either of these two really developed themselves into like who they are now.
And like I'm kind of hoping that after some aftermatch comments that ZSJ will kind of goad Will Osprey into making this also for the Rev Pro title.
Ooh. So you can kind of have a title match in the tournament, so you can get a nice little defense in. He's really defended that title since he won it, I don't think.
No, and it would just make it just a lot more interesting, I think.
Yeah, true. But I mean, it's not really in his control, because, you know, a lot of it happens in the UK, and he can't really go there right now. Yeah. So it's not really his fault. But all right, so we're into the semis of both sides now. Heading back over there, we got, you know, a match that we're all familiar with at this point. Evil and Naito happened a lot last year. And Eric, here we are again in the cup. What do you have?
What do I have? So I think this might be a match that people are kind of getting sick and tired of watching. Like, I kind of was at that, like, their match at Power Struggle. I was kind of like, really? They've been feuding since July? It's just like
it's happened a lot. Happened to Jingu as well.
It's kind of like Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin. It was just never
don't remind me. Don't remind me of that. I mean, at least it's been spread out at least, but, you know, it's still like, wow, this is almost like a year old now at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is crazy. It's coming up quick.
But I still think Evil somehow still can beat Naito. Naito, after the betrayal, he wasn't in his correct headspace for the match. Yeah. So I think that's how Evil got the win. Exactly. And then, you know, Summer Struggle and Jingu and every other match after that, Naito's back to his true self. And so I don't think Evil can overcome Naito when he's in his right mindset. So I got to go with Tetsuya Naito.
And again, remember, it's that thing. New title, big names. I think the person you would probably trust more here is Naito.
Absolutely.
All right, bottom of the one. This would be, I think, a first timer in New Japan, unless it was like happened like maybe briefly an attack match. But it is Okada taking on Kenta. Ooh, this I'm intrigued if this actually happens and see like what they do with this match. But Eric, ball's in your court.
If this does happen, I would be so freaking happy. This is a match I'd gladly pay to see.
Mhm.
So Okada, Kenta, but you still got to think, new title, got to elevate it. You got to have the best stars, biggest stars. Not saying Kenta isn't a star, but it's the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, and I do think Okada is going to get the win.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, and that's look at that. Look at that semifinal for it. It's looking really nice. Looks like that side's final. That's what they've been saying in some brackets. And over to the other side, Jay White and Yoshihashi in the semifinal of the other side. I think we both know how this one will probably go, but balls off to you.
So I think what's going to happen is Jay White's going to kind of not take Yoshihashi as seriously, and he's
kind of like what he did to Yujiro in the G1, kind of like something like that.
Kinda, and but he's like gonna almost get the win, but Gato might do something, and Jay White eventually is gonna get the win because it's Yoshihashi, and he's not gonna go all the way to the semis in this tournament.
That'd be bold, but I mean, hey, there's been crazier things that happened. All right, bottom of it, very intriguing one. Again, these two have probably changed a lot since they last met. If they did, pretty sure they have. Sonata and Commonwealth Kingpin Will Osprey. Who will advance?
So yes, these two definitely have never met both as heavyweights.
Mm-hmm.
Very intriguing. If this happens, I'd be very excited to see this. But I do think that Will Osprey will get the win over Sonata.
Yeah, I think the case for Osprey to win is that Sonata also just challenged for the main title in this case, because it was the double gold back then. Now it would be the individual title of the heavyweight one. So yeah, I definitely would see why they would want to go for that. And plus, in this next matchup, Jay White and Osprey have a bit of beef considering what happened in the G1 too. I don't know if that will still carry over because that was before Osprey turned heel, but still. All right, so we are on to Eric's finals in his individual sides of the bracket. We'll start with the Wrestle Kingdom 14 Night 2 rematch. Tetsuya Naito and Kazuchika Okada. Lots and lots of history here. Naito beat Okada for the double gold, and that's kind of where this all things generated from. So what happens when this happens, Eric, if it does?
So especially over for the Japanese market, they're the hometown fans. They're to get really crowds into this tournament and into this new championship. You got to have these two big names go one-on-one in a big time match just to really get people interested. They're familiar names in Japan, and they're going to get people watching. But I do think they're still going to go with the more familiar name, the more traditional, kind of their John Cena.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with, so I do think that Okada will beat Naito in that match. I do think Naito's hurt knee is going to be a problem throughout this whole tournament, and it's going to, going to be at his worst during this match because he's gone through Okan, Yano, and Evil.
Especially Yano. That's gonna be a long one for him now, Kent.
Oh, absolutely. But definitely Okan's definitely gonna go after his knee. Yano, yeah, maybe not, but Evil is definitely gonna go after his knee.
Is someone who doesn't hold back. Maybe get some chairs involved like he usually does. Does that baseball bat spot with them?
Absolutely.
Other ruthless things. So yeah, but I think Okada's somebody too who will really take the psychology and study up for it and know what to do during the matches. He is definitely someone who is of that nature, and that's why he's regarded as one of the best in the world as well.
Absolutely.
And the other side, who will Okada meet in your bracket?
So I would also be very excited to see this matchup. I've never seen it. I don't know if it's ever happened.
G1. The G1 last year.
Okay.
Yeah, Osprey handed Jay White one of his losses in the A block, and it's one of the reasons why he didn't make it out.
I remember now. So I definitely this match is going to be crazy. Both heels at this this point they're both heels.
Yeah, remember when they fought in the G1? This is before Osprey turned and formed the Empire. So this is before it all happened. Weeks before.
I know we're going to see Gato with Jay White, but are we going to see Brie Priestley with Will Osprey?
It's got to be at least, or yeah, I could see that because I think maybe they'll book Okan and Cobb earlier in the show when this happens. So that definitely probably at least be her, or he might be on his own. You never know. So it'll be tricky. And, Bullet Club versus Empire. I haven't really seen a lot of that since, it really formed either.
Yeah, I think the Empire is still, establishing themselves as a new faction. And I think this tournament is going to help them in becoming, one of the, top factions in New Japan. So I do think Will Osprey is going to get the win over Jay White.
And Jay White has been, even though he's been vocal about, the new unification thing, as that tweet he made about it, he unfortunately won't make it. And we get a Wrestle Kingdom 15 rematch here too from night 1. and the winner goes on to face Ibushi, Sakura Genesis. Both these guys are very familiar with Ibushi. Osprey beat him for the Never Openweight title a couple years ago at Wrestle Kingdom, and they've always kind of like encountered a couple times before. And Okada obviously has a lot of history with him as well. I don't think they did not meet this year Wrestle Kingdom, but they have met plenty of times in the past. This is your final, Eric. Who moves on to Sakura Genesis? Is it the Rainmaker or is it the Commonwealth Kingpin?
So this is gonna be a good match. I think that the New Japan matchmakers know that these guys are gonna put on a 5-6 star match. I think that's what they need to show that the New Japan Cup is so important and that this new title is so coveted that these men are gonna literally like just go out there and kill each other, because they do still hate. I do think Will Ospreay still resents Okada, especially after that loss at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah,
and they never really did anything after that.
No, because then that's when Osprey kind of focused on the New Japan dads and Tenkozy and all that stuff. That's all that he's really been doing since then. And Okada's kind of been feuding with Evil since then.
Yeah. So do you go with the younger guy who's establishing his faction, or do you go with the reliable Rainmaker? It's tough to decide, but you got to go with old reliable. I do think Kazuzu Okada.
I like that. Yeah, Okada.
Okada is gonna win his 3rd New Japan Cup and then go on and meet Kota Ibushi at Sakura Genesis.
That's a fair one. It's a very safe one too, because it's that thing. You said the Japanese market. They've known Okada for almost a decade now. I feel like it's been almost like a decade since he came back from his excursion and kind of became the character we know him as now. Osprey. I mean, it does suck. He would lose again in this instance, but still, he made it all the way to the final. Took out ZSJ, Sonata, and Jay White. 3. Those are all really good wins, to be fair, and those are people he all has history with. At least the first and the last one before Okada. So as long as it's like a really good showing, and maybe something happens, like maybe like a miscommunication happens with the Empire or something, like Okada just finds a way out. I wouldn't be too upset about it. I'm sure he will still stick around in that title picture as we get towards the summer, and the G1 happens in the summer again, I imagine. And so he could maybe not now, but later. Also, Osprey is still relatively young too. I know Okada's not that old either. He's only in his early mid 30s too. But yeah, maybe not now, but definitely in the future.
Oh, absolutely. And they still have the G1 for Jay White and Will Ospreay.
Both of them, yeah.
Break out.
Yeah, and Jay White also just have a match.
There's still time for them.
Exactly. So it's still tough, but if you want like the big marketable, like this is our main event at our next show, Sakura Genesis that is, and this is for the inaugural World Heavyweight Championship, then this is like, I think you can't go any wrong with that. Wrestle Kingdom 14 rematch from night 1, one of the best matches of last year, comes back again in a huge way, all to crown a new champion, and a bit of a role reversal too in that instance, because Ibushi walks in with the title this time and not Okada. All right, so Eric, anything else to add before we switch over to my bracket?
Nope, I'm all good. I feel strong about this bracket. I feel like I'm gonna win for sure, and Okada's gonna win.
Okay, feeling really confident about himself. All right, so we will be right back as we switch over to my bracket. So yeah, we are here. This is my bracket. This is using printyourbrackets.com for the bracket generator. So yeah, same deal. Don't need to run down the competitors. Once again, we will do the same situation. We'll go run down each match by match, and talk about what I think will happen. So top left to the other side of the bracket, we're gonna start off with Kojima versus Cobb, and yeah, much like Eric, this is a match that's been kind of like brewing between us. The Empire has been feuding with Tenkozy and the Dad Brigade. So I think relatively safely, I am going to go for Jeff Cobb as well. So type him in there, and we will move him there. Going to be a lot of typing in this one. Next up, yeah, this is, like I said, this is also a tricky one between Naito and Okan, because, Okan's a guy, they've really thrown him to the deep end when it comes to, like, how they're pushing this guy back from excursion from the UK, come back in a big way, and there's like all these big names, Okada, Tanahashi, now here's with Naito, but can he get it done? I don't think so, unfortunately, and, it's, as long as he puts out a good performance, I do think Naito will maybe find like a sneaky way to win, like much like Tanahashi did, but I think to make him look good moving forward, kind of like a bounce back from his loss to Ibushi, which I thought was a convincing loss to Ibushi too, because 3 Kamigoyes like almost consecutively, that's out of nowhere too.
Like
so
one in the back of the head.
Yeah, once at the front, I'm gonna say Tetsuya Naito takes it and moves on. Next up, and the comedy match of this like segment of the bracket, we got Yano and Fale, and it's a regular match. It's not like a no corner pads match or whatever they did back in December, but I always feel dumb. I don't want to bet against them, and like I said, we have learned our lesson, I think. So I think in this instance, whether it's shenanigans or Yano finds a way, like he blindfolds somebody, or like he duct tapes him to like somebody else, like he tucks him to a young lion so he gets counted out. I am gonna go for Toriano here. So Tora, if I can type, put it in there. Next up, yeah, this is one of the trickier ones, I think. Goto and Taichi, as Eric talked about, Goto, very reliable, been around for a very long time, but Taichi also has changed a lot since I think these two have probably last met, coming back to the singles division after a really good time in the tag division with Zack Sabre Jr. And I think thinking about it a little more, I think I'm also gonna go for Taichi, because it's that thing of like, Taichi's coming back in. Naturally, and Goto, he's already a champion, holding the 6-man titles, kind of like, also he's getting up there. I think he's in phenomenal shape for his age. So, bit of an interesting one. I won't be surprised if it goes the wrong way. Don't get me wrong, but I will go for Taichi in this one. And conflicted because back in January when we did, I think it was New Beginning in Nagoya, I bet against Tanahashi and went for Shingo because I think Shingo still had a little bit left to do with the Never Belt and lose it eventually. But he lost, and now here he is coming back off of that loss in a huge match with somebody he had a really good match in with G1 in Kazuchika Okada. But it's the factor of, Eric talked about it on his side, and it's hard to deny it. It's a brand new title. You got all the big names in here, and if you want to make this title feel important, you got to have some of your big names go after it. So unfortunately, as much as I would love to see Shingo get a huge win and continue to boost his stock, I am going to go against my heart here and go for Kazuchika Okada, because betting against the Rainmaker is always it's always questionable, because I feel like if you bet against him,
that's how they've been booking him though. It's like he's not in these top matches, and it seems like he's gonna help these guys get over, but then he just beats them. So it's like,
they compete with them too, at least. He makes them look good, don't get me wrong, but it's always maybe if it's not, it happened with Omega a lot, because Omega would lose to Okada a good amount until he finally got that big win all that time later. And Naito had the same thing too, and he always came up short against Okada. Ibushi, they usually went back and forth, I think, with Ibushi until he eventually got it. Well, eventually he beat him in the G1, but they lost in wrestling. That's really the last time they ever met though. But I think if he meets Ibushi now, I think Ibushi would get the win. In my head, it's Sakura Genesis, but that depends if he gets there. So next, after that, we got Hanma Mania and Minoru Suzuki. Tricky one, considering Eric's booking, but I think also, we haven't seen Suzuki in a while. I think it's just nice to see him maybe get a little bit further run, so I'm going to go for Suzuki here. Give him a little bit something to do as well, because I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, Hanma Mania, but I'm hoping that maybe if Suzuki were to lose this, part of me thinks that he might pop up in AEW eventually to help out Lance Archer and kind of do a little bit of a Suzuki-Gun reunion. But that may not happen for a couple weeks, the very least. But I think that'd be a really cool thing.
I don't think Suzuki is that kind of sentimental guy.
Oh, really? You think so?
Yeah, it seems like he just beats the crap out of people.
That's fair. Him and Archer. I think Archer mentioned him in a post about it, but I think it'd be really cool to see him pop up and him and Archer kind of beat the crap out of people. But I'm gonna go with Suzuki here. And the bottom, we have Juice Robinson and Kenta. Because I want to say these two met in the G1, and I think Juice beat him. Might be misremembering that. But here we are again in the New Japan Cup. Not the US version, but again, Kenta just had that big match with Moxley. And I think he could really use a little bit of that's the word I'm looking for here, win to forget about that and get that monkey off his back. So I think I am going to go for Kento in this one as well. I think it'd be pretty safe. But that's my first side of the bracket for round 1 matches. So let me move over to the other side, and I will start here. Tanahashi has a bye. Hanare and Jay White. Sorry, Hanare, but I think this is probably one of the easiest ones to call. Switchblade's gonna take that pretty comfortably. I think it might be maybe a hope spot or two, but I think it's too safe to go with Jay White there. Next is Yoshihashi taking on the Tokyo Pimp. Yujiro, guy we talked about, he's more of a manager, I feel kind of more of a character, kind of just does the job for people. But Yoshihashi's come a long way. Talk about how much he improved in the past year. He's also a 6-man tag champion, so I'm gonna go for Yoshihashi. I think last year was it one of our matches decided it was, I think it was Yoshihashi and Bushi, and I think he's the reason. Yeah, that's what it was. And I picked Bushi stupidly because that was the midst of Yoshihashi's kind of mini push he was getting. But yeah. This time, maybe I've learned from that. We'll see what happens in that match. Back to U.S. action. We got David Finley and Chase Owens. Tricky one again, because you never know what they might do with these two, considering, a little bit lower card guys. Finley's more of a tag guy, but I think, and also if he wins, it would be Chaos versus kind of like the main unit of New Japan if Finley were to win. But I think to keep the Chaos versus Bullet Club thing going, these two are probably no stranger to each other at this point. I will also go for Chase Owens, but that could be tricky. You never know. It might be because of shenanigans. Maybe Fale might get involved to help him out, or something else happens. So I'm gonna go with that one. Another big one. As much as I'd like to see Ishii get kind of like a big run, because it sucks he never got to hold like the IWGP Heavyweight title, because it's a title that people would have loved to see him hold, but unfortunately it just never happened. Maybe one day. I know how old is Ishii at this point? He's gotta be getting up there, hasn't he?
Old.
Yeah, he's getting up there. He'll look it up. In the meantime, I think Sonata, a guy who he started off the year pretty well, getting the big win at Tokyo Dome, getting the big title match with Ibushi, in the mutual respect thing.
45.
Oof, I think for 45, he looks fantastic.
Yeah, he debuted the year I was born.
So 97, 96?
Six,
yes. So that's the year both of us. I was born in June 96, so yeah. Cool. So he's been around as long as both of us have been alive, which is insane. So I think in this instance, I'm going to go for Sonata. As much as I'd like to see him get a little bit of a run, I think Sonata can bounce back and get some more momentum built up. So go with that one. Next up, Blue Justice and good old Yota Tsuji. Is he a former football player? Is that what we talked about before too?
Yeah, he went to college for American football. Yes.
Whew. So that's crossing back, going back into wrestling. Very familiar people for football players, kind of like venture into that kind of thing. So, but I think here, it's a young lion. Maybe eventually he'll have something happen. I think it might be more on the Road 2 series or at Sakura Genesis, I think. So let's also learn from last year, and I'm going to go for good old Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata. And the bottom two of the bracket, Gabriel Kidd and ZSJ. Look, Gabriel Kidd, I know you're a former What Culture Pro Wrestling Internet Champion, but Zack Sabre Jr., man, the guy has won this cup before. And I think he's coming in pretty motivated to at least get somewhat of a good run in, so I am going to go for CSJ. And finally, hopefully to cap off this feud, because it's going on for a little bit, and I think it's time we kind of move on from it. It is Hiroshi, Tenzan, and Will Osprey. And I'm sorry, Tenzan, you already lost Mongolian chops. I don't think you're going to get too far in this bracket.
But he used him again. It's like,
oh, yeah, that's right, illegally, wasn't it?
But they didn't describe, they didn't say, if you use it, you are disqualified or anything. They just said you just can't use it. But so I guess it's just like, well, what are they going to do? And then,
so he's kind of like, well, what are they going to do if I do it? Fine me or something like that? So
what are you going to do?
Yeah, I'm just going to go for Osprey here because, coming in a big way, want the Empire to be more established. And, this guy is definitely going to be the future of the promotion in some way. So, yeah, Osprey pretty steadily is going to take that one. So, heading back up, we are now in round 2. Back to Evil. He is now in here against Jeff Cobb. Yeah, Bullet Club versus Empire, as we talked about earlier. Never really seen. Of course, we're talking about a different aspect in this case. But considering, I think we mentioned it earlier, Evil is a former double champion, won the cup last year, and I think has the more experience factor, in the kayfabe sense of New Japan, of knowing what to do. So it could be a bit more of a Haas fight, because these are both two of the larger men in the heavyweight division. I am going to go for the King of Darkness in Evil. And after that, heading back into, I guess his former friend, Tetsuya Naito, taking on everyone's favorite, Toriano. Something's gonna happen. We all know Yano likes to have fun, but I think eventually Naito, he's faced Yano enough times to know what to expect, and it'd be just weird to see Naito have an early exit after all he's been through the past year. So pretty reliably, I'm gonna go for Naito. Tetsuya Naito. And yep, talked about this one earlier. Very familiar territory here. Taichi, changed a lot since these two last met, but Okada, of course, not really in the main event scene, but he's motivated to get back there, fight through people. So I am also gonna go for Okada pretty steadily if he makes it past Shingo. And at the bottom, Kenta and Suzuki, a strike fest, and another one that never really. I don't think. Well, we haven't seen it in New Japan. I don't think we have. So, do I want to? Because Okada Suzuki would be great. We've seen that a lot too. To be fair.
Yeah.
They have a lot of history.
That's what I was thinking too when I was making my decision. Ooh, Okada Suzuki though.
Yeah, it's happened a lot. They fought for the title, I think, at Royal Quest. I think was their last big match back in 2019. That's the one I could think of. Unless I'm in the G1, I totally forgot about. But I think, Kenta only beat Juice in round 1. I'm gonna go for Kenta, even though I wouldn't be surprised. But I think it's a fresh new matchup. I think Kenta could use another big win to get himself back again in some kind of angle, I would say. Maybe do something else after that. But that's pretty reliable. Going on to the other side of the bracket, it is the Ace and the Switchblade. As we talked about earlier, these two have a lot of history. Jay White beat Tanahashi for his first title. That's also how we got the Tanahashi tap out submission hold that he does too, the TTO. So I think that continues here because Jay White kind of get back into like the big picture of things. Tanahashi talked about it too, wants to elevate the Never title, and I think it's not really, they wouldn't do like another double champion thing if they want to get Tanahashi to get that far. Even though like Tanahashi is like, people think of him a lot when it comes to New Japan, I think they're going to start investing in the future. That person is Jay White in that instance. Just typed it.
Jeez, you could have got my bracket up if you wanted to. Jeez.
But say, yeah, but look, a lot of these once you get past round one are kind of like, all right, I can't really think of anything. Like the only thing I can really differ is like when it gets to these next round matches. When I look at this,
yeah,
that's where really like, okay, what do I think here? But Yoshiashi and Chase Owens, they won't do Bullet Club Civil War. The only instance I think they would do Bullet Club Civil War is if Phantasmo won the junior title, but he didn't. And what I was thinking they might do is they might do Taichi versus Phantasmo for it, but that didn't happen obviously because Tessie has it now. Which, that's totally fine with me. But Yoshihashi, just more of a push. He's kind of like a little bit more stock behind him. I think it's just logical to have him get the win, not have a Bullet Club Civil War. And plus, Jay White probably just run through Chase Owens, if that even happened. All right. Bottom part of the bracket, Sonata and Nagata. Kind of rhymes in a way. But New Japan Dad against someone they clearly have a lot of stock in. Sonata's had a really good start to the year, even with the setback to Ibushi. Kind of been chilling for a little bit. Hasn't been doing much in the last month, but get him back in there, get him pretty far. I will also go for the Cold Skull. I will have learned my lesson from Wrestle Kingdom. And at the bottom, we have the Rev Pro rematch. Yoshiashi and Osprey, no strangers. I think Yoshiashi just came back in the singles competition, back in the tag division, but he has won this before, so maybe you can kind of eat the loss, especially to the Rev Pro champion, to be fair. It's not as Yoshiashi's happened a lot too. Now that I think about it, that happened a lot towards the end of 2019 and 2020. So I think to give and also to help out the Empire as we talked about, I will also go for Will Ospreay. So yeah, very identical as of right now. And I'm sorry that we have very similar booking mentalities. I apologize to the viewers and for taking out the excitement in this video. But let's see what I think coming up.
At least for the next couple of weeks, we can relax.
Yeah, we can breathe. Plus, we never know what Tim the others are going to pick too, because Eric also has brackets made for the others.
I have the other ones picked.
Yeah, I'll have Eric read them out at the very end, and then we'll flash them up in the outro of the video so people can read them better. And then Tim will have one too. I don't know if I'll get that at the end of the video. Depends when he does it though. To be fair. So let's head up to the semifinals on both sides. Evil and Naito. Match we've seen a lot of, and it's a match that I've when it all ended, when Naito finally beat Evil consecutive times, we all kind of took a sigh of relief because it was kind of more of an experiment when I looked at the Evil as champion thing, and I'm like, this is all right, but I just felt better when Naito won him back, and he kind of continued from there. And I think we got a really good outcome of Naito passing it on to Ibushi. All the good stuff happened. So I think here, maybe shenanigans. Dick Togo will probably do some, but I feel like someone might come out and help Naito. Maybe like Bushi, evens the odds, something like that. But I will go for Naito there. Because I got to remember that big thing we talked about. New title. Got those big names after it. So, yep. Bottom one. Whew. If they had Kenta win this, that'd be insane. Plus, I think Kenta and Naito are they are very familiar with each other as well. But
yep, from New Beginning last year. Yep,
of course. They did end of Wrestle Kingdom 14 when he spoiled this moment and broke everyone's hearts to end the show because it never happens at Wrestle Kingdom. But yeah, I never really get it bet against the Rainmaker unless it makes absolute sense. So I will also go for Okada in this one because it's hard to do it, but in that instance, I will go for him. Top one, yeah, that's just sorry, Yoshihashi. I'm just gonna go for Jay White right there. You did your best. I mean, you beat Yujiro, you beat Chase Owens, so I mean,
sorry, Pickles.
Yeah, sorry, man. You mean you want a cookie? You mean you got some wins? So you always got the tag belts, brother. All right, bottom of the bracket, we got Sonata and Osprey. If they ever met, they have changed a lot, as we talked about. But Sonata has at the title shot. I understand if they would win, because Jay White has a lot of history with Sonata. They New Beginning last year they had that match, and they haven't really encountered since then, I think, because they were in different G1 blocks. Yeah, it's really been Sonata and Evil since then, because it's more so the other side of the Bullet Club he's been feuding with. But because I'm trying to think, do I do it or do I think? Because both of these would make would be fine. Both these seem like pretty reasonable picks to have go forward. But yeah, it's like trying to think who would win. Osprey could use momentum. He just came off that loss, but he's come off a big win before this. It's not kind of just getting to his strides again, taking out Nagata and Ishii. If I lose this one, yeah, I think I want to go for the Kingpin. It's boring, I know, but it's like it's boring. I'm sorry, and it's also like I really just like we have two similar thought processes, but it's also like it's not just challenge for the belts. Will they do it again so quickly?
Yeah.
It's always the G1. It's also like maybe you do something else in the meantime. But
and it's a brand new championship too. They're starting right from scratch.
Yeah, so it's like people know who Sonata is. People also know who Osprey is for his time in the junior division. He's since moved up to the heavyweight division. Had some big storylines. Had a big match, Wrestle Kingdom. So they both are coming off very like solid like upper mid card pushes. But I think I will go for Osprey, much as boring as it sounds for the viewers. But I don't know. Something about it feels like there's gonna do it. And like the booking would make sense, help the Empire, new stable. Give them some because they've had a really weird start when it comes to booking. I mean, formation wise, it's fine, but like booking wise, it's kind of like I feel like they just need something more, except from like giving those losses too much. Get to the finals of both sides. What will happen? So, Naito Okada, like I said, Wrestle Kingdom 14 rematch from last year. Haven't really crossed paths since then in singles action. It's really just like in multi-man tag matches, if anything. But Naito has coming off the loss. I think he would be okay losing to Okada, and it's like you said, it's another thing where it's the Rainmaker, kind of hard to go against. So I'm going to go for Kazuchika Okada here. But now this is where things get tough because these two have history. Osprey did beat Jay White in the G1. This is before everything changed though for Osprey because he really found himself in the Empire. And now is more of an established upper card heel. But Jay White, coming fresh off a comeback. Doesn't see finish with Ibushi, and he really wants. And he spoke out. He was pretty vocal about this new announcement from New Japan. And I think I'm finally gonna do it. I am going to break away a little bit, and I'm gonna go for the Switchblade here. I do think that they're gonna try and keep Jay White around that title scene. This final I'll talk about in a little bit. But I am going to go for White here. Maybe get revenge for the G1 too. It would suck for Osprey to get that far and not make it. Of course, it would suck for the Empire again. But like I said, there's always the G1. There's always something else that he can do in the meantime, maybe. Maybe it's more stuff of maybe LIJ he can feud with or someone else like around this division. But I am going to go with Jay White. And here we are. Okada and Jay White in this instance. No strangers. These two, G1 Supercard in 2019. White beat Okada in the Tokyo Dome before. But they meet again in the final. Who will go on to face Ibushi? Both these guys have a lot of history. White loses to Ibushi.
Don't forget G1 Supercard. Oh, you said it.
Yeah, no, I meant it. That's when Okada won it back from Jay White after the beginning. So, I think that was something. Was that the lesson? No, Jay White beat Okada in the G1, didn't he? Or am I misremembering? They were in the same block. I know that. They haven't really met since then. So, what will happen this time? Will Okada take it home and go to Sakura Genesis, or will Jay White, not too far off his last match, Ibushi, make it back to the title scene after kind of speaking out against the unification? But let's see, do we go with establishment, or do we go for a gambit? Because you get more of an established face versus heel dynamic with Ibushi and Jay White, but we just had it, to be fair. Whereas Okada, and plus they were feuding a lot before then too, as we had the match of power struggle. Jay White kind of put a big cloud over Ibushi's head and what's gonna happen in Wrestle Kingdom, but then Naito kind of spoke out, was kind of a voice of reason. Whereas Okada hasn't really seen Ibushi since the G1, but even before then, not really a lot has happened since then. But I think here, to break in the new title, Japan fans will probably be more behind the Wrestle Kingdom 14 rematch. So I think even though we differ once, I will also think that Okada will take it home. And my New Japan Cup winner, similar to Eric's, though we have a different final in mind, is Kazuchika Okada. It'll come down to if we even get the semifinal match and see who will have more points. But who knows? Maybe Schmidt, Tim, and Sam will have different brackets to us, and maybe they'll be actually the big brain ones. So, Eric, what did you put for their brackets while we're here? Because we can't flash them up, but I'll flash them up in editing so people can see them more clearly. Because Eric did a little bit of fun. Because Sam and Schmidt don't follow New Japan closely as Tim, Eric, and I do. But he took some liberties and had some fun. Eric, what do you got?
I did. So for Sam's bracket, So I got Kojima and Cobb. You know, Cobb wins.
Yep.
Then I have Naito Okan. I chose Okan to win that match.
Oh, Sam going with Okan. Interesting.
Sam going with Okan, and then Yano Fale going with Yano.
Yep.
Then we got Goto Taichi. I still went with Taichi. Then Okada Shingo. I went with Shingo.
So yeah, that's my heart pick. I want Shingo to win.
Yeah.
I think Shingo would be an amazing person to win this cup. I just don't, because considering it's a new title, I don't think they would do that. If it was a double gold, then I would have said Shingo. But since it's a new title, sorry, Shingo.
So then we got Hanma Suzuki going Suzuki again. Then Juice and Kenta went with Kenta again. Then jumping on the other side, we have Tenzan Osprey, still went with Osprey. Kid ZSJ, still went with ZSJ. Nagata and Tsuji. I chose to do an upset victory and have Tsuji win.
Yoda Tsuji with the Hail Mary.
Because he's getting to that point where he's gonna graduate the Young Lions and be on his own. Ishii Sonata, still went with Sonata. Finley and Owens. I went with David Finley on this one.
Ooh, okay. So one part of Finjuice makes it.
Yoshiashi, Yujiro. I still went with Yoshiashi. And then Toa Inari and Jay White. I still went with Jay White. And now going back to the other side, Cobb versus, so it's
Evil and Cobb.
Evil and Jeff Cobb. I actually went with Jeff Cobb.
Yeah, Sam really likes Jeff Cobb. For those who don't know, he is a big fan of Jeff Cobb. So I could definitely see him saying that.
Then I went with for Okan and Yano. I did go with Toriano.
when we showed Sam Yano, I think on the last podcast, and you just like could not stop laughing. Said that'd be him if he was like a wrestler, and I'm like, that does not surprise me.
So Yano's gonna win.
He's done it before against Naito. Hey, he can do it again.
And now I got Taichi versus Shingo. I chose Shingo.
Yep.
Then we got Suzuki Kenta. He still went with Kenta. Now we got Osprey ZSJ on the other side. It still went with Osprey. Then we got Tsuji and Sonata. I went with Sonata.
Bit of a mismatch, kind of, when I think about that one.
And we got David Finley and Yoshihashi. Chose Yoshihashi. Then we have Jay White and Tanahashi, and I went with Jay White.
Yep.
Kind of similar. Now going back to the other side, I have Jeff Cobb versus Toriano.
I love this mismatch because it's like this ripped, like huge guy against like just Toriano.
I went with Jeff Cobb.
Yep.
Sam too. Then we got Shingo and Kenta, which I would love to see.
That's an happen. And like, I always think of size, but Shingo's only like 5'11", so it's actually not too much bigger than Kenta.
Big.
Yeah. Which is. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
But I chose Shingo. He beats Kenta.
I like this. So we got.
Going back to the other side. I have Osprey versus Sonata. I chose Will Osprey is going to defeat the Cold Skull again.
Yep.
Then we have Yoshihashi versus Jay White. Jay White's going to win. So the Sam's final four right now is to Jeff Cobb, Shingo Takagi, Will Osprey, and Jay White. So semifinals on the left side, we have a rematch from Wrestle Kingdom 15, Jeff Cobb and Shingo. Possibly one of the best match on.
Arguably, yes, it was fantastic. 5-star match from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and yeah, I love that match. It's one of my favorite matches this year. It's probably in my top 3.
And just like at Wrestle Kingdom, Shingo's gonna get the win over Jeff Cobb.
I like this. All right, so Shingo on one side. Who will be on the other?
The other side, we got Jay White, Will Osprey. I do have Will Osprey going over Jay
White. Oh, hold on a minute. This is the best of the Super Juniors rematch.
Exactly.
Look at this. We're back here.
Both men are now heavyweights. And now we have Will Osprey versus Shingo Takagi in the final for the New Japan Cup. But I have Will Osprey winning the New Japan Cup.
And you get a more definitive face versus heel dynamic in that too for Ibushi. So that's a solid one. Empire also gets the big win in the end. It does suck, but much as I would want a Shingo to win that match, Osprey slays the Dragon once again. But they did meet in the G1, and Shingo got his win back then. So hey, it could be the rubber match in this instance. And also, before COVID last year, they were going to meet in round 1, Osprey and Shingo, before they had to change everything. So hey, they finally got to do the match in the cup, if that happens. Okay, that is Sam's bracket. Well, I'll make that bracket once Eric sends me a picture of it, and then I'll make it and we'll flash it up at the end so you can read it better. Because we still have mine up right now, but like I said, the outro will have it in there. So we have one more to share, and that is everyone's favorite, Matt Schmidt. Eric, what did you do for him?
All right, so going top left, Kojima Cobb, went with Cobb again. Naito Okan, I went back to Naito. Yano Fale, still went with Yano. Goto Taichi, still went with Taichi. Okada Shingo, went back to Shingo.
Okay.
Then we have Honma Suzuki, still went with Suzuki. Then Juice versus Kenta. I went with Juice Robinson.
Ooh, he gets another win on him. Okay.
And now going over to the right side, we have Tenzan Osprey. Still go with Osprey. Then we have Gabe Kidd and ZSJ. Still go with ZSJ. Then we have Nagata Tsuji. I went back to Tsuji on this one because I still think it's still pretty cool to get that upset.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Ishii versus Sonata. Still went with Sonata. Then we have David Finley and Chase Owens. I went back to David Finley.
David Finley. Yep.
Then we have Yoshiashi versus Yujiro. Still went with Yoshihashi.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Toa Inari, Jay White. Still went with Jay White.
Let's say no one went with Inari, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry, Inari. So now that's the end of round 1. Now going back to the left side, we have Evil versus Jeff Cobb. I chose Jeff Cobb again.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next is Naito versus Yano. I went with Naito. Then we have Taichi versus Shingo. I went with Shingo.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Suzuki and Juice Robinson, and then I went with Suzuki for that one.
Suzuki makes it, so you can get a bit of a further run. Oh, that's a never rematch too in that one because they weren't feuding too long ago. All right, other side.
I kind of did these kind of random enough, but they all end up just making sense with like old rivalries.
Yeah, the booking is like, oh, this is familiar territory. I mean, that best Super Juniors callback was like that's a really good final option. I think. I just don't know. I don't think we're gonna get that, especially for a new title.
All right. So now we have Tenzan Osprey. Still gotta go with Commonwealth Kingpin.
Yep.
Gabe Kidd, CSJ. Oh wait, shoot. So my bad. Now we're on to the second round. So it's Osprey versus CSJ.
Yep.
I still went with Will Osprey.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Tsuji versus Sonata. Still go with Sonata. Then David Finley, Yoshiashi, but I went with David Finley this time.
Ooh, he makes it to the. I mean, yeah, more of it. It's interesting because I don't think we've really seen White take on someone like them.
I feel like that's what Smith would choose because he knows Finley from WWE.
Yeah, he also picked Finn Juice against God last Wrestle Kingdom too. So he's gone for them before, technically. So
and then we have Jay White versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, and this time I chose Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Yeah, but I feel like he would know because most people have heard Tanahashi's name before if they aren't like familiar with New Japan. They would at least have heard it somewhere, whether it been online or like from like they were talking to a fan who might like watch something else. Like I heard of Tanahashi before I started watching New Japan, so I knew who he was. I just hadn't seen him wrestle a lot, so I can see that with him.
Yeah. So now moving back to the other side, we have Jeff Cobb versus Tessie and Naito. I do have Cobb going over Naito in a big win.
That's a huge upset.
If that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next match is Shingo and Minoru Suzuki. Rivalry renewed from last fall.
Mm-hmm.
I do have Shingo going over the King. And then on the other side, we have Will Ospreay versus Sonata. I do have Sonata beating Will Ospreay.
Sonata knocks him out. Okay. Let's say no. Schmidt also picked Sonata historically. I think it was last year he picked Sonata against Jay White at the beginning, and that didn't work out for him.
And then the next match we have David Finley versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, and I went with the ace for that one. So Schmidt's final 4 is Jeff Cobb, Shingo Takagi, Sonata, and Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Ooh, that's different from almost all of us. I think the only one that really adds up there, it's possible, is Sonata. But none of us have that. But let's see, how does this final 4 go?
So we have another rematch from Wrestle Kingdom, like we said earlier. Jeff Cobb versus Shingo. I do have Shingo winning again, so he's going to the final, another final. And then on the other side, we have Sonata and Tanahashi. I do have Tanahashi beating Sonata.
Ooh. And look at this, we're back, and we're back at the most recent, a really recent rematch where I was an idiot and bet against the ace, and I learned my lesson from then. So we have the now never openweight champion Tanahashi, really bringing that belt to the New Japan Cup final. That's already off to a great start for him against the Dragon, the man he took it from. Shingo Takagi, what happens?
What happens is Shingo Takagi defeats the ace and gets his revenge.
He got his revenge.
The New Japan Cup.
And he gets the World Heavyweight title shot, and that's because that's what my heart. I mean, my heart doesn't want that final, but my heart wants to see him to win the whole cup. I don't know who it would be against, but still, that would be a great ending, I think. But I just don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that brings it in, and we will get Tim's. I don't know if we're gonna get Tim's in time for the video to be edited, but I know he told me earlier he's gonna try and find the brackets and do it. So we'll flash those up at the end. I'll probably use this bracket simulator so I can take a screenshot and put it at the end of the video. So that wraps up our New Japan Cup 2021 bracketology. Hope you all enjoyed, kind of like a mini podcast of this.
So,
and
real quick, let's do a little recap of who we chose to win. So you chose Kazuchika Okada. I also choose Kazuchika Okada. Sam chose Will Osprey, and then Matt chose Shingo Takagi to win the New Japan Cup.
Yep, and then Tim we will find out about in the coming days. So we'll all have a pick, and the matter of that will be added into our league table. And we'll see who has the most points by the end. March will be an interesting month for just other reasons aside from this. But yeah, not much else to add. Eric, anything else to add before we wrap it up?
No, I'm good. I'm good to go.
All right. I guess if you watched the video till the very end, thank you all for watching our coverage of the New Japan Cup 2021. If you liked the video, feel free to subscribe and enable notifications if you really want. Be sure to check us out on Facebook too. We will be posting about the video there and other stuff coming up. We have AEW Revolution predictions coming up later this week alongside the SSS podcast coming this weekend, and we'll have that for you probably around Revolution or at least the day after that. So, with all that out of the way, thank you for watching again, and I'm Stel from the Shoot South Sauna, joined by Eric, and we'll see you all again very soon. Thank you all for watching, everybody, and enjoy the New Japan Cup.